Last year, we dipped into some old updates for Sea of Thieves and taking a look at how great they were for the game. After a well-needed break, we're back. Let's rewind the clock to May 2020, where the pandemic was in full swing, and Sea of Thieves was on the monthly update schedule. After a series of amazing updates, the May 2020 update took a step back and dropped some much needed quality of life changes. I'm of course talking about Lost Treasures, and this update quite literally brought back some lost treasures, including various cosmetics, some much needed changes to Tall Tales, and more. Let's dive into why this was so important. And to be fair, if this released today, it would be a certified banger. The first set of Tall Tales are some of the best content in Sea of Thieves and were instrumental to the anniversary update's success. They laid the groundwork for the story content that would arrive in the years following. However, they weren't without their issues. A big issue of Tall Tales is that they happened in the shared sandbox of Sea of Thieves, and many of the items needed to progress these quests could be stolen or lost. If you ran into the wrong crew, your progress might be halted completely. Even worse is that these can take hours between complex puzzles and sailing alone. Lost Treasures did an amazing job at alleviating this by adding checkpoints. Yes, Tall Tales did not have checkpoints until the 27th of May 2020. Some of them were well over a year old at this point. The checkpoints introduced an easier way of progressing, and they would happen at almost every chapter. I bet none of you could fathom, me included, having Tall Tales without them. These checkpoints would save in your inventory, so you'd propose them like a voyage should you want to continue after a failure, or simply if you didn't have enough time to finish in the session prior. Doing this would often add a quest item on your voyage table and the Tall Tale book, so then you're set to go again. This did have some unintended consequences, mind you. It made the gold curse much easier with an exploit, allowing people to earn it without completing each Tall Tale 5 times all the way through. It was egregious before this anyway, so it took away some of the tedium for that reward. It was never difficult, it was just stupidly time consuming. I think the more profound change was the Shores of Gold checkpoint being used to run away. Many people would use this when getting chased to run through the Red Sea, in the hope that their pursuers didn't have it. That's why any experienced player will have this on them today. Honestly, it kinda plays into that tools not rules philosophy and dials up the cat and mouse engagements to 11. It's not so common anymore, but it's always nice when the runner was shocked to see you had the checkpoint too. In a similar vein, the islands in which you start Tall Tales on now have markers next to them. Naturally, the first Tall Tale can be started at any outpost. Subsequent Tall Tales would let you know where to head next. If you took a break or simply forgot, you needed a guide then to find out. At least with this change, you could match the corresponding symbols on the commendation page with the map, which is a little bit more immersive. The other key content laid the groundwork for what we take for granted today. Events were introduced in this update with varying results. The aim for these events were to offer varying rewards alongside monthly updates and later seasons to bridge the gap in content. Some were really interesting, some were mundane, and most don't even exist anymore. For instance, daily rewards are very much a thing and still exist today. You can see them in the events tab. Another example of this is the gold rush every day at 5 PM GMT and 6 PM PDT. This is a prime example of these events done right, and most people will stack loot to get that gold bonus. Fortnite's was an example of a failed one. This saw Fridays have increased rewards for turning in fort loot. It didn't really do much to encourage those year 1 and 2 fights over them. There was a Reaper themed event with Reaper challenges, such as selling Reaper chests and bounties, awarding players with 4 Reaper themed emotes, which have yet to return. This system would see some creative changes in the updates to come, but have almost entirely been phased out by adventures, with only the Festival of the Damned, Festival of Giving, and Grogmanay enduring. Lost Treasures kept on going with the quality of life changes. Some were popular and some caused a touch of controversy. The Ferry of the Damned got a new armory. This was added in an effort to allow players more options in the boarding action and a better means of adapting to a spawn camp situation. Arguably a great change as it stops your attackers from getting comfortable with your loadout. The rowboat received a split for the prompts. With the chest and seats being close together, it would often result in players sitting instead of opening the chest and vice versa. The prompts were split, allowing for better control. The sit and interact with loot buttons are still the same on controller, but baby steps guys, it's only been 3 years since rowboats were added. Mermaids should, keyword, should spawn at a closer distance. I did notice an improvement when it came out, but mermaid behaviour remains wonky today. I think the devs are scared to overtune it, and it might cause more hassle than it's worth. On the other hand, your mermaid now despawned when on an enemy ship, leading to new stealth plays. Before this update, a mermaid would always betray your position should you be hiding on an enemy ship. Such a small but amazing change to the sandbox, and I'm very thankful for this one. Lost Treasures introduced a super controversial change. Previously, when entering an alliance, players' names would appear as white above their head, just like normal enemy players. Now any pirates that were in your alliance now had purple names. Rightfully, the community kicked off, and I agree that the change hurt the sandbox. It allowed players to be sloppy, whereas before you had to make a mental note of who was in your alliance. It essentially made alliance infiltrations impossible, and it took away from the social chaos element that Sea of Thieves exemplifies. There was no more sneaking around, blending in, or instigating betrayals for third parties to take advantage of. It is possible now with the speaking trumpet and a bit of stealth, but it doesn't really stop betrayals happening anyway, which was a total net negative for me and many other players. In terms of smaller changes, the infamous hit reg actually got some improvements. This is unheard of nowadays, right? These changes applied to swimming players and players interacting with the ship. The top of the ladder on each ship was also modified to allow players to be hit through this little slot. One day we'll see something like this again. One day. I mentioned earlier how some lost treasures returned, and this was pertaining to a bunch of missing cosmetics for sets introduced post-launch, but were never completed. In this case, it was regarding some recolors of the launch sets that never got the extra ship parts in Shrouded Spoils. The Ceremonial and Grand Admiral, the Bilge Rat, Castaway and Scurvy Bilge Rat, Ruffian and Rogue Sea Dog, Royal and Imperial Sovereigns all received new ship parts. These were the capstan, wheel and cannons. The recolors of each received a figurehead, aside from the Ceremonial Admiral set. And lastly, all of the above received a new flag, including the Admiral and Sea Dog base sets. That was a whopping 9 recolor sets completed in one update. A monthly update. Now we get one set or so finished each month, if we're lucky. Then on top of that, the black market got some new items also. The goodies for gold included the Nightshine parrot clothing, and the desirables for doubloons was the aristocrat equipment. To top off the cosmetic delights and an omen for things to come was the Pirate Emporium. We did get a cool free emote based on the Don himself, Joe Neat. This was a nod to his mannerisms when he used to present the developer updates. God, that is fucking nostalgic. Conversely, the Ruby Splashtail ship made a splash. While pretty colourful and garish, I do like the colour palette here and is very thematically fresh. Especially so when you consider the Ruby Splashtail was and remains a bit of a meme. There was a matching fishing rod too. Arguably, what comes next is the end of cosmetics as we know it in Sea of Thieves. The Ruby Splashtail Monarch costume dropped as one of the most garish cosmetics to date, and I would say this started the trend of these awful costumes in the years to come. It obviously sold well because we get stuff like this once a month now, with no change in direction in sight. As you can tell, I'm not a fan of this. Despite a pretty miserable end, it's nice to look back on a quiet month for Sea of Thieves and appreciate how great it was for the health of the game. This retrospective didn't even cover the myriad of other bug fixes either. Patch notes are in the description. With the introduction of some lost cosmetics, some much needed tool tail changes, an event system that has been refined nicely, and some much needed hit reg improvements, this is what a monthly update should feel like. I gave Lost Treasures a hard time when it came out, but this was also in the midst of Rare's shift to working from home. Nowadays, I think this update would go down very well. If it was a monthly update, of course, not a season. What did you all think about Lost Treasures? Did you guys play it when it came out, or was this before your time? Let me know down below and drop a like if you learned something new. These videos will be back every couple of weeks and we have so many more updates to cover, so subscribe now to not miss out. Thanks again for watching, and as always, I'll see you in the next video.